I feel like every time I kind of mention that I invest in real estate, people hear about it, but they don't really know the basics about it, what they can do with it, how it makes them money, and, what all goes into it and how to even start. Hola, I am Violeta, the first gen real estate investor, and here we talk about real estate investing, entrepreneurship, and general personal finance tips and tricks. Real estate is a great wealth generator. This is how you pass down generational wealth. There's several ways that real estate investing makes you money. What is real estate investing? I mean, in just lame terms, it's just basically purchasing or managing or selling or renting out real estate for profit. Now, it sounds simple enough, but real estate investing is a huge umbrella. There's so many strategies, so many niches, and you can really mix and match real estate investing to fit your needs. The common one that you hear about is investing in single family homes, where you just kind of either fix and flip them or you buy some to rent out. Or like me, I do the smaller multifamily homes, which are like between 2 to 4 units. So how does real estate investing create wealth? Well, there are four main pillars. You have income, you have appreciation, you have debt pay down, and then you have tax benefits. And you have to take into account all these pillars when you are looking into investing in real estate. So the first pillar is income. So with rental properties, this income is called cash flow. And cash flow is really your monthly net income from a rental property. Now, to calculate your cash flow, you're going to subtract your monthly operating expenses from your gross monthly rental income. So now what do I mean by operating expenses? These are your expenses that are required to either maintain the property that goes along with the property. This can be like your mortgage, other things like your property manager, and you also want to put like a certain percentage. I do about 8% from my rental income per month. I set that aside for maintenance, and then I do another 8% for just put that money aside for like emergencies or for your big repairs, like maybe you need to purchase a new water heater, which I actually had to do recently. So for example, with one duplex, I bring in about $1770 per month. And my management fees are 8%, so that's $142 per month. My mortgage is $850, and this includes my principal, my interest, my insurance, and my taxes. And then, like I said, I put aside 8% for maintenance and another 8% for big purchases or emergencies and my vacancies. So that's about another 16%, which is going to come out to like $284. So that leaves me with about $494, which I could just round it up a little bit to $500 just to make the numbers, pretty easy. So with this one property, I get to pocket $500 a month. Now, this is just with one property. So you can imagine if you just scale this up, you could start compounding your income because you start off with one property. It's giving you about $500 a month. And then you save that money plus other money or whatever, and you buy a second property, and now you have two properties that give you $500 each per month. So now you have a cash flow of $1,000 per month. And then you just keep on going each time you buy another property. Now you have three, that's $1,500 a month. And then you buy a fourth, and so on and so on. And so then it starts compounding, and you start building multiple sources of income. And then this is how you can gain financial freedom and eventually build that wealth. The second pillar is appreciation. And appreciation is just a gradual increase in value of the property that you have over time. On average, in over a decade, a property is going to increase in value from like 3 to 5% on average per year. Now, of course, it's not linear. It's not like a increase that's linear. It's going to go up and down. For example, when we hit the 2008 housing crash and all that, which was, created because of lending practices. But yes, the value of those properties dropped, but then they recovered and then they came back up and they're still worth way more than the purchase price. There's going to be times where your property kind of loses a little bit of value, but if you just keep it long term, it's going to even out and you're still going to, appreciate over time with that property. Another plus with appreciation is that this helps hedge against inflation. Now, it's kind of a little bit different the past few years because inflation was crazy, but imagine having your $20,000, which is, like the typical 20% ish, right? That you usually put down on a property, and you leave that in savings. You're losing money. That those $20,000 are not worth the same amount in a few years because inflation. Now, those $20,000 are going to be better protected if you put that money into a rental property. Now, mind you, you always want to have like an emergency fund and stuff, but any extra cash that is just sitting there that you don't need as an emergency fund and you want to like protect that, it's better off in a rental property because it's going to appreciate 3 to 5% historically, and in some cases houses skyrocketed, so you had even more than 5% in appreciation, and that's going to help protect your money from inflation. So the third pillar is your debt pay down, and this is where you build your equity. So if you have a property that you bought with a loan and now you have a mortgage, part of the mortgage is used to pay down that loan. And as you pay down that loan, you start building equity. And equity is just the difference between the market value of your property versus what you owe on it. With rentals, or like whether it's short term or long term or midterm, your tenants, the people that rent out your property, they're paying that mortgage down. And if you build enough equity, eventually you can refinance, pull some of that cash out and then use that as leverage to buy another property. So for example, if you buy a property for $100,000, you put your 20% down, so you have a loan of $80,000. The mortgage just gets paid down, the amount that you owe gets paid down, and you start building that equity, and that is money. Now, the last pillar is tax benefits, and this is where real estate investing really comes through with reducing your tax liability. I mean, this is how the rich keep a lot of their money, by putting their money into real estate. Because when you own a rental property, you get a lot of tax breaks and a lot of tax deductions. And all this helps bring down your tax liability, which means that's more money that is in your pocket that you get to keep and that you can invest again. So you have several different ways that your taxes are reduced when you own a rental property. And the first one is depreciation. And over time, because it's being rented out, there's going to be wear and tear on that property. So the IRS recognizes that and gives you a tax break. Now, the IRS allows you to deduct that loss throughout several years in a span of 27.5 years. Now, depreciation is spread out over 27.5 years. Now, this doesn't count the land that's attached to your property because they don't consider that land depreciates. So this is just the house itself. So for example, let's say we have a property that's $100,000. Minus the land, I'm left with $78,000 of what the house is valued when I purchased the property. Now, you divide that by the 27.5 years that the IRS says that you can spread it out with, and that leaves me with 2836 that I can use to reduce my tax liability every year for as long as I have the property. On top of that, there is this thing called bonus depreciation, which is another tax break for the wear and tear of the appliances, like and the main components of the house, like the HVAC system, the water heaters, stuff like that. Now this one's a little bit trickier, and you want to definitely talk to your tax advisor to see what actually falls into it. You can take all of that in the first year when you put that rental property in service. Now, the thing is, it's a temporary tax benefit. So it's set to expire in 2027. So you want to make sure that you purchase a property and set it in service between that time, because it's in the works to get renewed, but we'll see if it does. Now, the other benefit with owning a rental property is that you can deduct the costs of certain things with, taking care of that property. So like maintenance items, and even the mortgage, the interest, the taxes. Now, again, you want to talk to your tax advisor to see what all you can deduct. So going back to my first rental, where we said it was like $100,000, and we were making about $500 of cash flow per month. So first pillar, we're creating cash flow, a multiple source of income at $500 a month. But you are bringing in $1,770 in rental income per month, which comes out to $21,000 and $240. Now, pillar number 2, appreciation, and let's lowball it. We talked about how it was 3 to 5% on average historically. So I want to lowball it and say, hey, it appreciated 3% in the first year that I have this rental property. So that means this property appreciated $3,000 in its first year. And so each month that the mortgage is being paid, 140 of that goes into the principal of the actual loan. So that means from the rental income, 140 times 12 is going to give me 1,680 per year that I'm making paying off this house. And that's money that is not coming out of my pocket, it's coming out of the rental income. So it's paying off this investment by itself through the mortgage. And the last pillar, tax benefits. This is where you really get into, keeping more of that money, because although we brought in $21,240, now you can deduct the interest payment, the insurance, and the property taxes. So it's deducting all of that from my rental income that we originally started out with $21,240. Now we're down to $6,000 of income for that year that we're going to pay taxes on. But we still get things like depreciation. And remember, we calculated that for 2,836. So that's another deduction that I can put on that income that I brought in. And now you can see how, even though I received all this rental income and, it's going towards a property that I'm, making money off of, and that it appreciates and I'm getting equity, I get to pay way less taxes than my W-2 job. And this is how real estate investing makes you money. This is how you build wealth. And this is why I'm so passionate in getting the community to get into real estate investing, because of all of these benefits. And, I'm trying really hard to help that mindset, to overcome that mindset of like being worried about the interest rates, being worried about housing market crashes, because realistically, that's very a low likelihood. And I get it. Some people are worried about, losing money because they had a bad tenant. So with real estate investing, you have to look at the whole picture and how all of that comes together to make money, reduce your tax liability, and have an asset that increases in value over time. So what is stopping most people from jumping into real estate investing? Because people don't know where to start, how to start, or anything like that, or it sounds super complicated, which is why I created my real estate investing for beginners course. And this is going to be a 6-week course. It walks you through all the steps from preparing to invest, like getting your finances together, figuring out what loans you might be eligible for, and figuring out what kind of strategy you want to go for. And we go into like how to plan to buy your first rental property. So if you've been playing around with the idea of real estate investing, but you're kind of hesitant, this is a good opportunity to, build that knowledge and, be guided step by step. It's self-paced. And again, it's linked in the show notes. But really, I just want my community to get more involved with real estate investing because of all these benefits. And we don't get told about these. We have to figure this out on our own. And that's why I'm so passionate about real estate investing. So if you have any other questions, you can email me, you can DM me on Instagram or whatever. Other than that, I will see you in the next video. Bye.